our preferences for the good of the organization.
Are we still waiting to go live? Okay, just let us know.
Is this thing on? Is this
Hello?
thing on? Hello?
So yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see what Mike's, I'll go over to cable and see what Mike sent out. See what his little, I think he leaves that blank and uses his form. No, they don't want two forms. They want one daylight IP. Okay.
We're on?
We're live?
We're live?
Okay. Welcome everybody to the first AC of Ops video briefing. Thanks for tuning in. I got my boss here, Chief Stueve, for some support and just to look pretty on the camera. But anyway, I want to start off with some kudos to the crews on a few items. I want to start with fireground terminology and tactics. I think are going well. Notice I didn't use blue card. We're calling it fireground tactics and terminology, but it's going well. We're listening. The IRRs, the tactics, they're sounding good. I think as a department we're making good strides in using our blue card format. The new wildland urban interface IRRs, I think they're sounding good. I know those are new. Keep using them, keep practicing them. They sound good on the radio. Makes it sound like we're organized and we know what we're doing when we arrive on scene. I think we got great cooperation with the Fox crews. I know it's been hard on a lot of crews to deal with that, the movement, the swapping, them invading our space, but thanks for cooperating, and it seems like it's smoothed out and going well. I think it's putting us in a good light, and you guys have been a big part of that, so thank you on that. One last kudos, the chain of command. You guys know I've been kind of talking a lot about the chain of command. I feel like it's working. Guys are going to the BCs. I'm getting stuff from the BCs. There's less random communications coming across the desk, which I think just helps improve efficiency across the entire department. So thanks for that. Appreciate it. You got anything to add?
Yeah, I would say the Fox crews, as I'm watching all the videotape of the Fox crew footage of our crews, I have observed that as we've engine company that was quote cast in the series is running with medic unit that wasn't, and vice versa. It's been seamless, and the feedback we've gotten from the Fox personnel is they're really impressed with how you guys perform overall. It's seamless. I think they'd like to have more footage of Central Pier. So that, as far as how that's working internally, I recognize it's not been without discomfort, but it's going well. So thank you guys.
Okay, next, I'm going to admit some of my failures. I'm obviously 8 months into the spot, new leadership position, much bigger position than being a station captain. But the main thing I want to apologize for on failing is my slacking on station visits. I should be there more often. We've committed to doing a station visit a week, and I haven't lived up to that. So you'll see me more. I'll make an exerted effort to be at the stations visiting more often, so you guys can pick my brain.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, the station visits, there's a schedule that's on the front page of the info portal right underneath the strategic plan. So there's a schedule there, but it's also part of all chiefs' operational goals to try and get out and visit one station per week. And then again, it's an effort to keep dialogue open, improve communications, and really move the direction to a place of health with our cultural and the engagement between administration and the field.
And it keeps myself and Eric and the other chiefs in tune with what's going on the street, right? That's important. We're here for you guys. We don't want to be isolated in the office and not knowing what's going on the street. So that's our way to stay in tune, stay in touch.
Can't solve the problems if we're not out there figuring out what they are. So.
Right. So don't be afraid. Let us know what you guys are thinking when we get there, and not always have the answer for you at the time, but we'll figure it out. PIR policy, the post-incident review policy. We're working on that. I've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that time-wise.
He's dropped the ball.
But we want to get that finalized so the battalion chiefs, company officers have a systemic way to review policies, request audio, do a little PowerPoint, and be able to do it quickly on either a small incident or if there's a large incident, the BCs can get with training and get something formal going for a large incident. But finding time to work on the language and how it works and the moving parts is taking me some time. But it is high on my priority to get that done, so it's a tool for you guys to not only review the big bad ones, but even the small ones, the small good ones. We should be reviewing and talking about a lot more often. Let's catch each other and the crews doing good things versus the only time there's interaction or conversations when maybe something goes wrong or we think it didn't go perfect. So we do a lot of good things way more often, so let's recognize that. And I think,
Yeah, I think we have somewhere between 10 and 1,000 successes for every minor failure we experience. So we want to get that policy procedure up and running so we capitalize on all the good work that's being done. Hey, these are the model behaviors that we want to shoot for as an organization. So our focus is to do the PIRs regularly, routinely, and capitalize on the successes.
I don't think I've done a great job on communicating the whys on policy adherence and writing new policies, and we're kind of trying to tighten up, if you will, on following policy and policy adherence. And mainly it's not, I hope you guys know, not just to hammer guys and do all that. It's really to create consistent direction, application, and standard performance and behaviors that everybody involved can have an expectation what's normal behavior of Central Pierce and normal tactics or whatever the policy might be. If it's unclear to you guys, it's unclear to the organization. So we're trying to clear things up so policies are clear, policy adherence is clear and easy to do, and that way we apply policy consistently and you guys can follow policy consistency. It just sets everybody up for success versus the randomness of unclear, vague policies and how they're going to be administered. So we're just trying to clear that up, and I don't know if I've done a good job on the whys of that, why we're trying to pay attention to policy and how we adhere to them. So that's kind of the whys on that.
Yeah, I can echo that. We're just really tracing that back to the first two items of our mission statement, right? Effectively respond, continuously improve. Policies, procedures, directives, whenever terms you're using, we're essentially describing our organizational playbook. And highest performing teams are the teams that perform consistently, and that's consistent performance is what we're shooting for. So we want to get the policies to a place where they're being followed. Problems with those policies get identified and remediated, so our playbook is sound. A safe, effective service is our target.
And remember, we've talked about it a little bit in our Friday Fireground sessions about the 90-10 rule. We'll write policy as clear and concise as we can for the 90% of what we do out there. There's going to be that 10%, the 1%, whatever that small margin is, where you're just probably going to have to make some stuff up, make sound decisions, respond effectively, continuously improve, and make the right decisions the best you can with that limited information, and we'll support it. We'll review it, we'll look at what happened, but we can't policy all the what ifs, and we've had that conversation, and nor do we want to. I mean, we want you guys to be able to think and adapt out there as you guys see fit at the time. So, all right, what's going on in ops? Actually, a lot. Some stuff that I'm going to talk about is sure things that we're working on. Some of the stuff's going to be just ideas that we're working on that I'll still have to clear through Chief Stueve and LMC and all that other stuff, all the mechanics of the fire business. But one thing that is recent to come out that I think hopefully it's helping, I'm open for feedback through the BCs about that daily IEP that's out. A lot of information on one page. Hopefully that makes it easier for guys to find information. It's all in one snapshot. Let the BCs know what you think about that and how that's working for you. I'm open to changes, but the formats kind of also come from strategic planning. The body has asked for a better way to communicate in a more succinct way versus all over the info portal. So let us know how that's going. Any thoughts on that?
Yep. The intent of the IAP is to deliver the operations division information and a single source that they use to plan and execute their day, to improve communications, and especially for the battalion chiefs, overall situational awareness of what's happened within the battalions and the organization at large. So this is like any new initiative, this is the first step. It's only going to be as good as the input we get back on it and the technology we have to improve upon it. So be liberal, send your feedback to the battalion chiefs. Let them know what you think about it and what we could do to improve it.
Yeah. and a little picture into a little view into the future is what we're also working on. It's one of those hope we can get done things. Is this Daily IP will hopefully morph into a digital dashboard that is displayed on all our screens. When you log in, there's a digital dashboard with this information that's much easier to look at, much easier to find, dials, graphs, just a modern way to share information versus a fillable.
Engineered and automated.
Yeah, right. It'll be automated. It'll link to Telestaff. It'll link to the rig locator, and it'll be all automatically updated live. So that's coming. We're working on that right now. Ashley's behind the scenes working on that, but hopefully we can introduce that in 2020. We're hoping. So, okay, directives. I've sent out, sent out a few lately, and just I want to give you guys the whys on these directives, and it's really just so we can bring some clarity to any of the vague policies you might have, and that's just a quick way for me to throw out a directive so we can bring some clarity, and then what happens, there's, I don't know, is it 30, 60 days?
It's 6 months before a directive is, essentially needs to be memorialized in policy or it goes away.
So it'll give us 6 months to live under directive, which then directives tie into policy, but in that 6 months, then we can go through the LMC process to update the policy formally, and that new directive becomes part of policy. So the directives, when they come out, supersede policy because it's kind of like the newest thing that's coming, and then they'll get into policy in the right channels. So that's the real reason by directives, not to throw them out there and cause confusion. I hope it's not. I hope it's bringing some clarity, some whatever issues are popping up that are unclear. So that's the reason for those.
Just for a second on clarity, if you have a question that's bouncing around the coffee table, there's a good chance the other coffee tables have the same question bouncing around. So again, this is why we're emphasizing the chain of command. We're not a bunch of individual islands. If you have a question, let the company officer send it to the battalion chief. When the battalion chief gets pinged 3-4 times on some issue, now we have a trend. That trend gets lifted up to Ron, and we solve it. So again, emphasizing the chain of command, that's where it can be used for our efficiency and productivity.
Okay, I'll move quick. I see I don't want to drag this out too long for you guys, but there's been some new wildland urban interface dispatch criteria that has been introduced. We were hoping there'd be a hard date. It kind of rolled out a little bit soft. So just so you guys know, there is for brush fires, there's a little different dispatch string you'll notice, and the intent on that is to front load the system a little heavier than we've done before in the past years, knowing that when we start to get into July and August, that brush fires can move fast towards structures, and if we dispatch lightly to them, we could be behind the 8 ball right when we get there. So we're front loading the system a little bit, but yet I want the officers to understand they have full discretion to look at dispatch information, downgrade if they see fit, or just like in the IRR, if they're at the scene doing their IRR and they come to the place to downgrade or upgrade the alarm, they do so, right? Just because we've sent 2 engines in a brush on a brush 3 doesn't mean you have to leave. You can cancel right away if it ends up being a bark fire on your dispatch info, or if you arrive and it's 5x5 brush fire, you don't need 2 engines in a brush, cancel. That's what we want the company officers to do. So you guys can help control that a little bit. You'll see some other changes. I gave them to the BCs. They'll share them with you, the entire matrix. And we'll monitor this for the brush season. In October, we'll revisit this whole brush season. If these dispatch changes burden the system or don't work, we'll make changes. We'll look at it. But we're trying to be a little proactive versus reactive. So that's what you're seeing. You'll notice maybe it's heavy, maybe it's perfect. We'll figure it out. Let us know. Let your BCs know, and we'll deal with it at the end of the brush season. So anything on that?
Yeah, it's going to be heavy at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's raining.
Yeah.
It's going to be light in the middle of the day in August when the sun's out. So that's the complexity here, is trying to establish a standardized dispatch package for something where the risk changes hour by hour, day by day, season by season. So we're looking for input. Send it up chain of command. We'll sort through it at the end of the season.
Okay, another cool thing that's going on is, some of you may or may not know, we just sent 2 battalion chiefs to JBLM today. All 7 of them are going to go. They're going to go spend the day out at JBLM doing live prescribed burns. They're going to burn medium to heavy fuels in 50 to 100 acre parcels. And the battalion chiefs are going to get to shadow and be a part of watching fire behavior, watching wet lines be put down, watching black lines be put down with JBLM's forestry division And they do these burns every day. They burn all summer long, and the battalion chiefs get a chance to go see how basically the big dogs do it and bring back that knowledge to us so they can understand what they need, where the fire might be going, and they just get higher level training than we've provided before. So, okay. Another idea that's coming, as you guys know, we're going to promote a bunch of new lieutenants. We've promoted 3 new captains. How many yet? Can we officially say it? Okay. We're going to promote 8 right off the bat, 8 new lieutenants. 3 new captains already been promoted. What we've decided to do, because that's a pretty big group, it's about 25% of our officer corps in one shot, we're going to do a lieutenant or an officer academy, a couple-a-day academy. Hopefully we grow this from year to year. About every July we'll kick off a new officer academy. This first one will be a shorter version because of time, but we'll grow it as every year goes by. But we'll bring all those officers in and just give them a couple days of expectations, what it means to be an officer. It may be any tactical stuff. We're developing that now, but hopefully we'll create a tradition of when guys get promoted in blocks, every July after promotion, there'll be an officer academy that they go through for an X amount of time, a couple days, a week. That will always evolve, but we're going to try to make that a organizational norm that there's an officer academy every time you get promoted. So like welcome to being an officer type thing. So here's what we expect.
Yeah, this is not meant to be a burden or another obstacle. From the fire chief all the way through the training division, we realized that the organization doesn't have a system in place that systematically invests in the employee when they're making this transition from firefighter to officer. So this is a good first step. We'll try and deliver it. We'll get feedback, and we'll build on it in the future.
Yep, I'm excited about it. I think it'll be cool. I wish all of us probably would have had this when we got promoted. But okay, next item, policy updates. Most of our policies, not all, but most of them are due for an update. It's time, and that's going to be an ongoing thing. We're going to try to get into a systemic rotation where every so often a policy gets updated, not forgotten. I have a lot of them. I'll need help with some of this, so officers be ready. I'll probably be reaching out, asking for some help for some policy rewrites, getting some input, and actually doing the work. So be ready on that. And you guys all know we have lots of policies, right? So be diligent about in your morning meetings to try to review policies. I was guilty. This is human nature. We can't review every policy. We know that. There's so many of them. You can't review them. Try to review something every day, some of the biggies. I'm going to try to create a list for the battalion chiefs to put out are some of the highlighted biggies to review in your morning meetings, right? Kind of give you a list of stuff to focus you a little bit, creating that. But try to do something every day, because I noticed, lots of times there's policies pop up that you may or may not follow, and there's discussion raised about the policy, and you haven't even looked at the policy for a long time. That's just because that's the nature of the beast with all the policies we have. So just try to throw some policies in every day, just so you don't miss a policy for 3 years and never read it type thing. So, anything on that?
Yeah, I think for company officers, an area to focus is, if you can break it down into 2 boxes, we have policies that affect things where you have no discretionary time. Something like emergency operations in or near traffic. That's something that you have to know. So that should be reviewed on the cycle. You should be generally and specifically familiar with that policy. But if we're talking about payroll issues or petty cash reimbursement, you got all the discretionary time in the world. So that's one you maybe don't need to memorize. Just break it out and reference it when you spend your cash and want to get reimbursed.
Well said. Here's a few policies that I'm working on. There's a lot more, but as I prepared for the show, this is what I came up with. There's a bridge policy that Lieutenant Estes helped me with. He's been a bridge guy for a long time. That'll really help us in the field of which bridges to cross, which knots to cross. It'll give us a lot of clarity. I'm working on that one. Abandon the building notification. If you guys get outside of Central Pierce, if we honk the horn for water, if we go to our neighbors in the county, that's an abandoned building signal for those guys. So if we ever run mutual aid and you guys are honking for water, you're going to have West Pierce fire guys running out of the building. So we need to update that. I'm working on that. That's one I want to get to. We want to overhaul the chain of command policy, mainly because I've realized there's a lot of different versions that chain of command, depending on who you ask, who can talk to who up and down the chain. We want to clarify that so we all have the exact chain of command, how Central Pierce follows their chain of command, who talks to who in what sequence, And so we're going to work that out here in the short term. Another one that comes up occasionally is an overhaul / board up policy. I think we need to tighten up. There's a lot of things. Do we have cardboard? Do we do visqueen? How much do we do? Is it our responsibility? A lot of questions to ask and answer. So we're working on that one. That's going to be high on my list to get done. Those are just a few that are rolling. There's plenty more, but anything on that?
Yeah, if you have input on these, officers and battalion chiefs specifically, the more oars we have in the water rowing the same direction, the faster the ship's going to get to its destination. So if you have input or you're willing to work on it, we'll provide scope and we'll get the work done.
Station maps. Got a meeting this Friday with a GIS guy from the county, basically, that's going to get us our maps updated for stations, wall maps. We're also working on some roll-up maps for the rigs. That's Chief Stevie's working on that project. I'm going to do the station maps. That's coming. Another cool thing that I reached out to Pat Dale, Chief Dale at Graham. We're going to try to put together a battalion chief, a Pierce County battalion chief command lab to gather all the Pierce County battalion chiefs and actually do a 1 day or 2 day, however that looks, command lab. So all the battalion chiefs in Pierce County are on a closer page. We're all doing blue card, but a little bit different variations of blue card. Central Pierce and Graham have really adhered closely to true blue card. The other ones are kind of doing what we did at first and doing some of it, some not so much, and just we're going to try to get all the BCs to the same page. We had a fire during the 4th, wasn't it? It was the 4th week, basically, that week. Battalion 20, we got busy with the house fire. Battalion 20 came in, took command of one of our fires, did a great job, set a division up. Minor thing they did that we don't do is they assigned Battalion 61. They assigned me, Chief 604, to a division, which works. Battalion 61 arrived and assigned them safety on a 10 by 15 detached garage fire. So obviously something they do in their system, something we don't really do in our system, and it's really not a true blue card thing to assign a safety to a small building. So we need to clean stuff like that up amongst the county. So you guys know what to expect if you go to Graham, if you go to West Pierce, and vice versa. So working on that, that should be pretty cool for the battalion chiefs.
Yeah, if I could add on to that, don't read anything more into trying to get the mutual aid battalion chiefs in the same room to speak the same language.
Yeah.
The big target there is least amount of impact to the people on the engine, ladder, and medic companies as they cross these fire district imaginary lines. That's the intent. So we want it to be as seamless as possible.
Two more things. One other thing that I'm working on that probably be a 2020 thing, but I think it's important is, we got away from pre-fires and QAPs. That system, I think fire service wide hasn't worked very well. I think Eric and I have talked about going out in your first scenario and finding high-risk commercial structures, and we'll do a pre-fire on those few. A simple pre-fire on a handful of buildings in your first due that could really bite us. The non-sprinklered, older, masonry block commercial structure, that kind of stuff, or high hazard, what's that? Yeah, yep. Right? Or high occupancy types, whatever the high hazard you guys deem at your first ends. Quick pre-fire plan on that, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. We're not doing coffee stands and all that stuff and houses, and we'll keep it very simple on the high-risk stuff. We're working on that. Last thing, this is just an FYI. We do have the hydrant workers out again this year, prepping hydrants. They touch a small portion of them, but every year they get a new section of hydrants, and over several year period, we get to them all and start over. So you might see them out there. They're touching hydrants, painting them. They're not flowing them, but they're spinning them and giving them updates to Pierce County GIS, so our maps on the MDCs or the hydrants are accurate, the location. So I'm sure I've missed a few things. There's a lot going on in ops between Eric and I, but we'll do this again to catch anything we missed or anything new updates. But I think from at least AC of Ops, that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in. I don't know if Eric's got anything to sign off.
Chief, any questions?
Oh yeah, questions from you guys, please.
All right. Yeah, nobody sent any questions. Thanks for your attention. We off?
Stop it, please. Yep. I didn't touch on the brush truck stuff. That's all right.
Sorry, man.
That's good.